juicy, ripe red tomatoes. They're hard to beat, you know. And homegrown ones are the best. They taste so flippin' good. They really do. If you haven't tried growing tomatoes yourself, it's about time you did, because you can't beat them. You can't get what out of your local supermarket what you can get out of your greenhouse or polytunnel such as this one. Now, let's say, for instance, you were growing tomatoes last year. Maybe it was your first year ever growing tomatoes, and you thought to yourself, well, I need to get down to the old garden centre and buy some more tomatoes because you haven't sown any from seed. Well, hold your horses, because there's a possibility you may have some juicy, will be juicy red tomato plants, but obviously there's no tomatoes on them yet. You might already have some growing in the soil, you see, from last year's tomatoes. Seeds, they've been dropped on the ground, what have you, and are now germinated because the soil's warm enough, to provide you with plants. And there's masses of them. I bet in this greenhouse there must be 100 odd plants that I could transplant if I want. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to dig this one up here, because I've loosened the soil around it already, so now it's there. And we're going to transplant it into a pot for now, or into location. But the problem is, all these little tomato plants, if we leave them in the ground, they are at risk of frost, and then they'll just die. So the best thing I can do is to replant them into pots, and then put them in a cloche or something. Or you could use a bell cloche that goes over the top of the plant if you're relocated them where you want them to be. And do you know what the best thing about it is? Apart from the fact they're tomato plants, and they produce juicy white red tomatoes, which I absolutely adore, a bit of salt and a bit of bread and butter. The other thing about them is, they're free! They're already there! I ain't got to pay £1 a plant. No. And if you plant as many tomatoes as I do, makes sense to make use of the ones that you got. The only thing is, you might not have any idea whatsoever what variety they are. I know there's a possibility they could be Romas, I know they could be Pierre, they could be Noir de Crimea, the black ones. Or Super Steaks. Actually, it could be any other thing, to be honest, I can't remember. Anyway, so before you go and buy your tomato plants, check your greenhouse first, or your polytunnel if you got one, and see if the soil's got warm enough, and you've got a load of germinated tomato plants, and save yourself a penny. And it's a great idea, and the food, cost of living crisis and what have you, and the fact that supermarkets are struggling to get the tomatoes on the shelves, because apparently it's raining, you see, in Spain. Apparently. Ta-ta. Don't forget, beep the like button.